Everybody, this is the review for the final exam. Good luck with it. I'm going to kind of work backwards. So I'm going to do the hardest ones first. So I'm going to start with Access, then I'm going to do Excel, and then PowerPoint and Word. So I'm going to kind of work backwards. And basically because I want to get the hard stuff at the beginning of the video. So first off, this is Access. It is a database program. Oh, I need a pen so that I can mark off what questions I've already answered. There we are. No, I don't like that one. Okay. So, a database is basically a way to keep track of information about stuff. So basically what that means is, it means that we can keep track of particular pieces of information, and that information varies depending on what it is that we're keeping track of. So for instance, I could use a database to store information about products for a business. I could keep track of students at a university. Hell, I could even do like a CD or CDs in a CD collection, or stamps in a stamp collection, or by the way, libraries keep track of books in a database. So that's the kind of information that we can keep track of. And by the way, it's any kind of stuff. So whether it's books, CDs, records, stamps, students, employees, or some kind of inventory of products, all of that can be done in a database. So having said that, a database, or at least Access, has four objects that we can work with. So a database consists of objects, and the main object in Access, in a database, is a table. A table is where we actually keep track of or we input the actual information. So when we're talking about tables, we're talking about individual fields. So a field is one piece of information that we're keeping track of. And so this is the city field. You can think of fields as columns. This is the company name field. And I'm trying to keep Access fairly simple. So this is a field, and we define a group of related fields as being a record. So a group of related fields is a record. That's like a row in Excel. So this is a record. And these fields are related because they all have to do with the same, in this case, company. If I go to my jobs table, then each one of these records is a group of related fields. And how are they related? Each one is about a particular job. We define a table as being a group of related records. So all of these records are related in this table because all of the records are jobs. In my companies table, all of the records are related. How? They're all companies. So a field is an individual piece of data. A group of related fields is called a record, and a group of related records is called a table. Let me mark off some questions here. There are only a couple more questions on Access, and they have to do with the other kinds of objects that we have. So I'm not really being super detailed about access. A query. A query is basically a way to pull out data or extract data from the database according to certain criteria. So let me look at design view here. So I'll change design view and I can look at the criteria. The criteria are these fields. There are two tables here that are being used, and I'm sorting some of these ascending. So those are the criteria. So that's what a query is. Now a query is a little, let me go back to datasheet view. And by the way, those are our two main views. So let me go back to a table. So this is datasheet view. In datasheet view, I can view the actual data and I can add or edit data just by clicking, right? Or I could add a record down here at the bottom where it says new. I could just click here and I could start filling out information. Or I have design view. In design view, I cannot see the actual data, but I can edit the field properties, add or delete fields that I would like to have in my object. I can change the data type, etc. So in design view, you can't actually view any of the data, but you can edit the fields and the field properties. That covers that question. So a query is a way to pull information out of a database. A form is basically a way to view individual records, to enter new information, and to edit existing information into a database. So you can create a form to do that. So a form is used to enter, edit, or display data from the table, one record at a time, by the way. So those are all of the questions on access. Now, now we have Excel, and the test is a bit Excel heavy. It has a lot of questions about Excel. And that's because Excel was very complicated. So there's a lot of stuff for Excel. So let me close the access form here and let me get into Excel. So what do we have in Excel? In Excel, you need to remember that this area here is called a worksheet. And that a worksheet is divided into rows, rows and columns. And where those rows and columns meet, that's called a cell. Okay? So here's a cell. Each cell has a unique cell reference or cell address. That's the combination of the letter of the column that it's in and the number of the row that it's in. And you can, you can see that by looking at the name box here in the top left corner. And you can see the currently selected cell. Oops, there's D8. If I click here, it's I-10. By the way, you can navigate from one cell to the next. And one way is to type in the cell reference into the name box, and it'll move you there. Or you can click on a particular cell to select it. Or the two keys that are unique, one is the tab key. That's like pressing the right arrow key. So that moves you over to the right one cell every time you press it. And then the enter key just moves you down one cell every time you press it. And you can use the arrow keys, obviously. And you can just click on a particular cell to select it. So that's kind of how we move around a worksheet. Okay, so let me mark off some of these. Oh, I got all those right away. Okay, so let's see what else we have on Excel. So this is the name box over here in the left. That's what shows us the name of the currently selected cell. And this right here, this area is called, oh, come on. I want to come up. It's called the formula bar. There it is. This thing right here, this whole section here is called the formula bar. And the formula bar shows us the actual contents of a particular cell that's selected. So here, the actual contents is not 12,600 in I-7. It is this formula. Okay. Here's another example, J7, where the actual contents isn't 1,260. It's I-7 times M2. Okay, so the formula bar will always show us the real contents of a selected cell. Now, one thing that you'll notice, and we'll talk about formulas and functions here in a second, is that some of my columns aren't wide enough. So we can use the auto fit or auto size function in Excel, and all you do is double click between the columns, and that will fit the column, or will make the column wide enough to fit the widest entry in that column. So you can see if I double click here, well, that one got, oh, that's because of that. But if I double click here, you can see that that one got smaller, that one got smaller, that one actually got smaller, that one stayed the same, that stayed the same. Okay, so auto fit or auto size. Okay, so we have three more things to talk about. One is functions and formulas. First off, a function or formula always begins with an equal sign. So either way, starts with an equal sign. Now, if I'm doing a formula, I just type in cell references, and then I type in the operator. So this is what we call a formula. And a formula basically just does math. Well, they all do math, but it uses mathematical operators to do it. So one problem with a formula like this is that it takes a long time to do. So we tend to use functions. Now, functions also start with an equal sign, but after the equal sign, they actually have the name of the function. So if I wanted to add this, so I wanted to use the sum function, I could click on the auto sum button up here. I could manually type it in by typing in equal sign and then sum. I could do it either way. I could click on the insert function button and pick the function that I want and press OK. So I'll do it both ways, or all three ways. So I'll highlight what it is that I want and press OK. There we go. So if you look at my formula bar, you see the sum function. Let me add these. I'll do, oops, got to undo. So I got to click the undo button on my quick access toolbar. There we go. I'm going to come here and I'm going to just click on the auto sum button. And then I'll go ahead and select what it is that I want to add and click the little check mark. And lastly, I could type it in manually. And so this gives me a chance to break this down. So it's the equal sign, just like a formula. Then it's the name of the function. Then we typically have parentheses. And in the parentheses, we have the range of cells that we want to work with. And then we close the parentheses. Oh, and by the way, a range of cells has a colon in between it. If we have a comma, it's not a range of cells. It's that cell and that cell. So how many cells are in this range? So remember, you can't do a subtraction. How many cells are in this range? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 13. There are 13 cells, I guess. Well, no, it is 13. I counted on my fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah. So remember, you can't do the subtraction because the subtraction would have given you 12. Now you can subtract, but then add 1. Okay, very important. Add 1. I will ask you that question. How many cells is this? So they all begin with an equal sign. Remember to use a function name, regular parentheses, and then a range of cells with a colon in between. Sum is an example of a function. We also used some other functions, like the minimum function. The min function, min, would find here. I'll use it. So I'll click here. Oh, no, dang it, undo, check. I'll click here and I'll find the minimum value. And I'll select the range that I want and click the check mark. And so that's the min function. It shows me the minimum value from a range of cells. We also had the max function. And the max function does the other thing. It shows me the maximum in a range of cells. Oops, I guess I clicked the wrong thing. Max, there we are. Click my range of cells, press enter, and there we go. So that's those are the different. We also used, I think, an average, and we used some other ones. Two more things that we did. One was using conditional formatting. So conditional formatting is easy to think of. Let me highlight this and go to conditional formatting. And I can just say, hey, apply some formatting given a certain criteria. So format cells that are less than 400. Oops. Right, so here's my criteria, less than 400 with a green fill with dark green text. How about that? And I press OK. So basically, it's just applying some formatting to my cells, my worksheet, depending on what the value is in that cell. So in this case, it's going to do light green background or fill and dark green font if it's less than 400. So that's the criteria. Next, we have charts. And inserting a chart is relatively easy. We just highlight what it is that we would like to chart. We go to the Insert ribbon or menu, and then we pick the kind of chart that we want. And here's my chart. And it's not a very good chart. But the one thing to remember about charts is that the legend is the place that explains what the colors mean. So this is the legend. See, it's called the legend. So the legend is the part of the chart that explains what the colors mean, or tell us what the colors mean. Okay, so that's it for Excel. So those are the things that you need to know for Excel. I'm not going to save that. I'm just going to close it. Then we'll talk about PowerPoint. So first off, in PowerPoint, we have slides. Slides are our main object in PowerPoint. Now, we have 3 views in PowerPoint. We have the slideshow view, which is this. No, this is the normal view. I'm sorry. We have the normal view. We have the slide sorter view. The slide sorter view is easily used to sort your slides, so you can move stuff around. We have our normal view, and then we actually have the slideshow view itself. The slideshow view fills the whole screen with a slide and shows me one slide at a time. And I can navigate through a slideshow by using the mouse buttons or wheel. I can press enter, I can press the space key, I can press backspace and arrow up, down, and left and right. So I can navigate from one slide to the next in using the keyboard or the mouse or any combination of those. I can switch off, I can press enter, I can press backspace. I can click the button here. I can do whatever. So that's how we control a slideshow and how to navigate from one slide to the next. I can exit slideshow mode by pressing the escape key. And then the first thing to remember is that when you're planning a presentation, you should consider a couple of factors. One is where the slideshow is going to be taking place, when it's going to be taking place, so the time, if we can control the lighting, etc. And 2, the audience. So who is your audience for the slideshow, the presentation? Because PowerPoint is a presentation program. Lets us create presentations. So remember, you gotta, before you start creating your slides, remember who your audience is and where you're going to give it, and not just where, but also the time. So remember that you just click and drag to move stuff in slide sorter view. So if you want to sort your slides in slide sorter view, just click and drag the slide to where you want it to go, and it'll put it there. Covered some of this. There were a couple of things that I thought were very useful in PowerPoint for you to understand. I know we did a lot of very complicated stuff, but I try to keep the final fairly simple. But one of the things that I thought was very useful was the notes, to add notes to your slides. So instead of using note cards, you use the built-in notes function, and you type in your notes for each slide here, instead of having note cards. Then you can print out. So I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Print. And I can print my notes pages. You can see that, and the notes pages are for the person giving the presentation. And so the notes pages are very helpful. I would, if you have to do that, those are called speaker's notes. You should have information on there that isn't on the slide itself, because you can see the slide and you can see the information on the slide. So your notes should consist of stuff that isn't on the slide that you need to remember. We also have handouts that we can print, and handouts are for the audience. And so you can print out something like this, and the audience can take notes. So handouts are for the audience, and your notes are for the person giving the presentation. So those are called the speaker's notes. And that's really all that there is to PowerPoint. So I'll close PowerPoint, and I'll go into Word. Word is the last thing that our final will be on. And so remember, whenever you're creating any content, that there are two steps. The first step should be to input your content. And the second step should be to then format it and make it look nice. So first worry about content, and then worry about making it look nice. So there are some questions on Word. First, what are the default settings of a Word document? It's 11 point, it's Calibri, it's 1-inch margins, left and right, top and bottom. So those are some of our default settings. The little blinky thing here, let me zoom in. The blinky line in front of the J there is called the insertion point, and you can move it around by clicking or using the arrow keys. Right, that's kind of how we navigate a Word document. Remember that every time you press the Enter key, Word sees that as a new paragraph, even if I don't type anything. And you can see that by turning on the formatting characters here. These are all paragraph marks. Okay, so remember that every time you press the Enter key, Word sees that as a new paragraph. Now, how do I select stuff? Well, I can use the keyboard shortcut to Control A to select everything. So if I want to change the font of everything, you know, that's the easy way to do it. And select everything, and you can, I'm not lying, see, it did actually select everything. So that's Control A, that's the keyboard shortcut. You can also double click on a word to highlight it. And look, as soon as you highlight something, you get the little mini formatting toolbar that pops up. That's the first thing that we see. So I can double click on a word to highlight it. I can triple click to highlight a paragraph. So that's 3 clicks. Again, my little mini formatting toolbar shows up. If you delete something or you do something incorrectly, this carries over for all of the programs. The easiest way to get it back is to click undo, right? And that's on our quick access toolbar up here. See, there's the quick access toolbar. So in the top left corner, and you can customize it. Remember, you can customize the quick access toolbar. And my favorite buttons, undo, and the save button is up there too, by the way. So if you want to save your document, you can just click save. Oh, did I save it? I think I did. I didn't mean to. I better undo. Oh, you can only undo to the last. No, you can. Here, let me undo all the way back and then save it again. There we go. Okay, because I don't want to actually make any changes to this. Okay, so we have a couple more questions. One, let me highlight this area and let me talk about the alignment. So this is left aligned, this is centered, This is right aligned, so the text is aligned at the right margin, and this is justified. So that basically aligns the text at both the left and the right margins, except for the last sentence. So you can see how this here. Let me do these here. Let me justify these. You can see that it's aligning them at both the left margin and the right margin, except for the last sentence in a paragraph. They don't get justified or aligned on both sides. So that's what justify does. If I want to move text from one place to the next, I can highlight it. I can then cut it. And let's say I want to move it here, then I can press paste. And so that moved it. So if I want to duplicate something, I use copy and paste. If I want to move something, I use cut and paste. Now, let's say that I format something here. Let's say that I do this and I format this. I change the color. I change the text effect to be all fancy schmancy. I change the font size and I make it bold and I underline it. If I like those formatting things and I want to apply them to other things, I can use the format painter to apply those to other parts, very quickly apply those to other parts of my document. Boom, without having to go through, oops, I don't want to do that. Undo on the quick access toolbar. There we go. So the format painter lets you take formatting that's applied to one piece of text and quickly apply it to other pieces of text that you would like to apply it to. And you saw how fast that was. The book loves find and replace. So if you want to find words and replace them, you would go to the find. Oh, it's down here. I don't know why it showed up on my other screen. You go use the find and replace dialog box. And so you can find whatever word you would like, and then you can replace it with something else. So remember that you can always use the find and replace. Then what does print preview let us do? It lets us see exactly where to go. Lets us see exactly what our document will look like when it prints out. Okay, so that's what print preview. So whenever you're creating a document, you can see exactly what it looks like when it's printed out by just going to the print preview area. And then lastly, we have how do we insert a picture? Well, that's relatively easy. You just click the insert ribbon, and then you pick pictures or online picture, it's fine. Let me go back here. So if I want to insert a picture, I take my insertion point, put it where I want it, and then I click insert pictures, and then I just pick the picture that I want from wherever it is, and it inserts it. So there you go. I think I covered everything that's on the test. Let me double check. There's 1 through 13. Yes, 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 I got it all. So those are the things that will be on the test. Good luck, and we'll see you. Let me stop recording here. See you later. Bye.